economic systems and more. How economics works with politics and different societies with different values. There's been a lot of stuff before this, so make sure you've taken a look at that before you get to this. An economic system is a method used by a society to produce or distribute goods and services. What system a society employs depends on that society's goals and values and how you answer the three key economic questions. Always remember this values issue. Do people in the North see things exactly as the same as people from Texas? Does California see the world like Texans do? Or New Yorkers? Are there differences in values across the United States? I would say absolutely. And then when you start talking about Europeans versus the USA, you're going to see there's different values and stuff. And that does impact politics and economics. The three economic questions, these are actually a little more complicated than I present them. I kind of simplify them so that no matter how they're presented, you'll recognize them and can answer them. First question is always what good or service should be produced. This is when an entrepreneur sees that there's a want or a need for something. Maybe it's a better something or something completely new and different that we didn't realize we wanted. Whatever it is, what good or service should be produced is the first economic question. And because of limited resources, every decision is going to have an opportunity cost. How should the goods and services be produced? You got to look at the options you have. In order to produce power, you have options. Like if you want to produce power in the United States, you can do oil, coal, solar, nuclear, and so on. What's the best choice considering all options? Which one are you going to make the most money off of? Which one's going to be the best choice? You got to figure this out. That's what makes you successful is you figure it out, you do the right thing, you answer this question appropriately. And then who consumes the good or service? This is actually the question where a lot of people mess up. What are you going to do? I'm going to produce exotic supercars. How am I going to do it? I'm going to line up the factors of production to get it done. But who consumes the good or service? You guys should all know that a Ford F-150 pickup truck, they make lots of them. Ferraris, they don't make that many. If Ferrari made brand new sports cars in the same numbers that Ford is making F-150 pickup trucks, they would fail miserably because those Ferraris are for rich people. And that sounds mean and all that stuff, and the pickup trucks are more of an everyman kind of vehicle. And so you got to, so if you come out with something, you know, you line up the facts of production and get it out there and stuff, you got to think about who's it for, can they afford it, do they want it, all that kind of stuff. Distribution plays into this. Who gets what? Who can afford it? Like I said, who should get it? How much should we pay for it? Maybe people want it and you can't get it to a price point because of the technology or the resources. And if you can't get it to where they can afford it and they will buy it, you won't make it. You know, and sometimes it's a sad reality that some stuff fails that actually is a good idea. It's just the nature of the beast. Not everyone is paid the same and can do the same thing. Lots of you want Ferrari. Some of you could care less, but very few of us are going to be actually able to afford them. And society puts different values on things, and people put different values on things. Your own values impact this. You may think a Ferrari is a complete waste of money. All you want is a little Econobox car to get you from point A to point B. You know, but those are the three economic questions. What are you going to do? You're going to produce something. How are you going to do it? You can line up your factors of production. Who's it for? It's identifying your consumers, your customers, that kind of stuff. Now, types of economic systems, because every society has different values, that's going to lead to different economic and political systems, and the following systems are going to reflect that. A traditional economy is an economic system that relies on habit, custom, or ritual to decide the questions of production and consumption of goods and services. Usually you're dealing with barter. You have people that are raising chickens, you have goat herders. Goat herders eat goat meat, goat cheese. Chicken farmers got their chicken and their eggs. They get tired of their own products, and so the goat herders thinking that eggs are looking really, really good, so these guys decide to do exchange. And at some point, someone said, hey, you know, how many eggs is it going to take to get this goat from you? And maybe the initial thing was it's going to take 8 eggs for a goat and 2 chickens or whatever. And eventually they hash this out and it gets to the point where 4 chickens maybe is equal to a goat. No eggs are involved in it, whatever. They come up with some kind of price. 4 chickens is equal to a goat. That becomes standard. It becomes tradition. Nobody questions it. There's not a lot of dynamic stuff going on with barter. Barter still exists in everybody's lives. Maybe you had like those Yugi Dude trading foo play whatever game card things, and some of those cards are rare and some of them are common. And if kids don't have money, they might trade cards for cards, and it may take a whole lot of common cards to get a rare card. But these guys, when they're answering these economic questions, there's not a lot going on. What are you going to make? Same thing we've always made. How are you going to do it? Same way we've always done it. Who's it for? Same people it's always been for. So that's what you got going on with that. But then you have command. Central government answers the three economic questions and makes all consumption and exchange decisions. How are the questions going to be answered? What are you going to make? Whatever the government decides to make. How's it going to be done? However the government says it's going to be done. Who's it for? Whoever the government says it's for. Now, the types of command stuff usually ties into things like socialism. And socialism in of itself is not evil. A little bit of socialism is fine. I'm more of a free market guy, but I'm participating in a socialist program in the form of public education. But socialism is a philosophy based on the belief that democratic means should be used to distribute wealth throughout society. Democracy is key. Redistribution of wealth comes into it, which if you make a lot of money and they're taking your money and they're giving it to somebody you perceive as being lazy, you're probably not going to be a fan of socialism. I think probably one of the problems with those is a system that tries to be fair and ensure everyone is equal. And my deal is the only fair I care about is the one in October that I can get a corny dog at and go look at new cars and see Ferris wheels and get balloons and stuff. I don't believe anything's really fair, and when you try to make things fair, somebody's getting the short end of the stick. But you may feel differently. More power to you. I am not here to turn you into a little crumpling. Use your own mind. The government will often control major industries and strategic resources. Like they may say all oil belongs to the people in the government, so there will be no private oil fields and private oil wells. And so that's going to be a limit or a block on what you can or cannot do to satisfy personal wants and needs, put things out there. It's going to be limiting things. There's communism out there too. Not a fan of communism. If you are gay, communism though does require violent revolution. Everyone kind of ignores that all the time. You got to wipe the slate clean. The worst example of this we've ever seen was in Cambodia with Pol Pot. You know, basically they're the closest to true Marxist stuff I guess we've ever seen, because the Soviets and the Chinese, they're Marxist light. They're communist light. We'll get into that kind of stuff later on. But, you know, basically, all the teachers, the cops, the judges, they're corrupted by the old ways. The doctors, we need to kill them, which they did in Cambodia, and they had the killing fields. I mean, the manifesto written by Marx and Engels wants to promote a revolution that produces a classless society where all political and economic power rests in the hands of the central government. Flat out says you have to have an authoritarian system. It's going to require an oligarchy, a dictatorship, a monarchy that requires strict obedience. I think all this stinks, and I don't think this is how human nature works. If you're a communist, true communism is, I'm going to give you all the same gray jumpsuits. I'm going to give you guys all the same brown bag lunches. You're all going to go to school. Then you're going to go home to the same gray apartments. And at the end of your school career, I'm going to decide what job you're going to do. Some of you are going to the factory. Some of you are going to the fields. And because I'm doing what is best for the government, which trickles down to being best for the people, we will have utopia. Sounds great, right? Okay. Pros and cons of command systems. They do jumpstart industry in times of need due to the failure to meet needs that occurs when there is nothing going on. Think of The Walking Dead, for example. In The Walking Dead, society is basically wiped out, and basically tribes get together. And these tribes get together, and there's a leader, and the leader makes decisions. There's no real democracy. In The Walking Dead, they tried democracy at the prison. But The Walking Dead, if you're in 2017, 2018, the show's evolved now to the point where you got the city-state going on. These city-states have developed. They've evolved to that. They want to trade with each other. But what it boils down to, and what I'm talking about here, is basically when there's chaos, we have a tendency to group together and have a leader. And when that stuff's going on, things can get done. And the thing that's also kind of scary is which was more productive, the Roman Empire or the Roman Republic? It was the Roman Empire. I'm no fan of Nazis by any stretch, but look what the Nazis were able to do in a short amount of time, introducing command elements, or what the Soviets or the Chinese were able to do. They transformed their societies, and there actually was some good from that, but there was a whole lot of bad. So yeah, I get you organization out of times of chaos and collapse. Some argue that we by nature want to be led. I don't know if that's true or not, but the corruption, authoritarian, absolute power, corrupting absolutely, no competition, markets being ignored, all this stuff are going to be problems that are going to pop up with your command systems. Check out this. You may need to go to Wikipedia because I'm sure a lot of you have never seen the movie. Look over the synopsis of the movie. Maybe some of you will be motivated to go watch this movie. It is rated R, so I probably shouldn't recommend it or whatever. But then there's this Econ Pop video, and it's very interesting because it talks about abuse of authority and all the stuff that can come from that. So pause this, go check this out, take a break, come back, look at this later because it's going to be kind of a long-winded video. And hopefully you did that stuff and you found it interesting. Maybe you might want to go watch the movie. I don't know, but we're picking back up. Free markets versus command and traditional. Free markets, capitalist systems, free enterprise, it's all the same thing. Economic decisions are based on voluntary exchange and trade. A market is an arrangement that allows buyers and sellers to exchange goods, and they exist because no one is self-sufficient and none of us can produce all that we require to satisfy our wants and needs. Free markets have the advantage of encouraging growth because basically you can keep your profits. You're motivated to come out with stuff. I mean, in North Korea, if you have a good idea, you have no motivation to put that good idea out there because the government's just going to take your good idea, claim it for their own, and award you by probably shooting you and throwing you in a ditch in North Korea. But if you can profit from something and people like what you're putting out there, it's a voluntary thing. The government's not telling you what you can or cannot buy. The government's not telling you what you can or cannot make. You recognize that there's a want or need. You supply it. People can get it. They like it. It's all great. It's a free market. It's all about voluntary exchange, and they encourage growth, and they tend to have a lot of dynamic elements. How do they answer the questions? What to produce is decided by consumers. Businesses have to make us happy or they don't make it. And resources should go to where the profits are in most cases. But there can be problems from this. Capitalism is not absolutely perfect. How to produce it? You do it in a way that's going to maximize profits, and the people are going to be able to get what they want, need, get satisfaction from it. You make a profit, selling it to them. I'm going to produce something. I'm going to line up the FOPs where it's profitable, and they're going to love me. Who's it for? You use prices for this. Expensive exotic sports cars are for rich people. Ford pickup trucks are for everybody. Strengths of the market system, and you may or may not subscribe to this stuff. You just kind of keep that in mind. You usually have higher degrees of consumer satisfaction, more economic freedom, more goods and services are out there, and they're usually of better quality. Private property and profit motives that are going to motivate people to do great things. Who's going to work harder? The farmer that wants to farm or the farmer that is told he has to farm? If you get to keep the profits from your farm and you want to farm, you're going to be a more motivated farmer and you're going to do great things. If you want to be a bird groomer and they force you to be a farmer, that ain't going to work out real well. Economic growth and continuing advancement in our goods and services are also going to occur from this because entrepreneurs are always going to be looking for new things to put out there, new ideas, new ways to put new spins on stuff, all that stuff that that you should kind of understand at this point. There are weaknesses. Self-interest and profit motives can lead to great things, but there can be pollution, unsafe work conditions, unsafe products, exploitation of workers, all the stuff the communists complained about. Yeah, it's true. I mean, we had kids working in factories at one time, and we kind of had to evolve and get rid of that. And only productive things tend to be taken care of. There's no real financial incentive a lot of times to help maybe the poor. So they kind of get ignored. I mean, there's weaknesses with it, but by and large, I still think it's the best way to go, but that's my useless opinion.